So, okay, we are live. So we'll probably just chat amongst ourselves until people start arriving. So you are now in Dubai, I believe, Gemma, after all that time of hanging around waiting and trying to get from Sri Lanka to Dubai, but still in a hotel room. So that's stressful in itself, isn't it?
Oh yes, I've had the most
with kids as well.
Yeah, I've had the most interesting TMS journey over the last month, I would say.
Yeah, sure. I'm not surprised. And there's ongoing stress, and you're having to deal with that. And it's really been full on, hasn't it, for you? Yeah. Not really know what's going on as well. Okay, well, we've got some people joining us. So if you'd like to come and say hello, then post a comment in the box below. Tell us who's there, because we don't know otherwise. And then in the meantime, we can chat amongst ourselves. But if anybody's got any queries, then please put them in the chat box or just say hello. Tell us where you are. And in the meantime, Gemma, do you want to just give us a brief history of how you've got to this point with working in this field?
Yeah, so actually it's interesting because it kind of started when I used to live in Dubai. We were here for 8 years. I had back pain, obviously had no idea why. I was going through the injections, the medicine, like everything. And then we relocated to Sri Lanka, and that's when the pain went through the roof. But at the same time, I was studying to be a coach. And then I came across John Sarno book, and everything after that just completely fell into place. I can't remember how long it took me to completely heal, but basically I was coaching expats, and then suddenly I was like, why am I coaching expats? There's people that need more help that I can use. So then I switched. I found SIRPA. I did your course for the practitioner thing, and then ever since COVID, basically I've switched over, and I'm now only really working with mind body and pain.
Great. And certainly that's where the pandemic has helped, in that it's actually made people get used to working online, so that we can, and I think in our field that's been really good, because we can help more people now, because distance is less of an issue, isn't it?
Yeah, actually most of the people I work with are in the UK. So yeah, it makes no difference.
No, quite. And Laura Jane Pardo, she's saying hello from Sri Lanka.
Oh, hi Laura.
Nice to see you, Laura. We've got a few other people, so do pop in the chat box below, the comment box below us, and just tell us, say hello, even if you just want to say hello. And if you've got any questions about anything about, dealing with stress or mind-body symptoms, or anything interesting to tell us, then do tell us. There's so many different.
If it's Laura and she's telling me how great it is there, I don't want to know. I miss it already.
Yeah. We don't want to know anything about Sri Lanka, though. Actually, it's not bad today, but it's certainly not as nice and warm as it will be in Sri Lanka. I'm sure it's beautiful there. So don't tell us too much about it. Okay, so what area do you enjoy working in? What's your main focus then, Gemma?
Yeah, so this is a good question. I really like working with strengths and finding people's natural talents. Because I feel like when you're going through TMS, or basically if you're in chronic pain or stress, the thing you need most is to feel strong before you can start digging deep and doing all the deep work. So I do the deep stuff, but I think it's the strengths finder, the tool that we use, that's what really lights me up. Because when I work with clients, it's such a quick tool, and then I can see light bulb happening and immediate shifts, and I get so much energy from that. So.
Yeah, no, that's good, and I think that is important. I mean, education and understanding all this is important, isn't it? And then absolutely becoming self-empowered, because and obviously using our strengths will help us feel empowered. Yeah, and if we're not in flow, and that can cause stress, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not a tool that's been designed for TMS. But once I saw what TMS was all about, and I was already trained in that, I was like, this is a no-brainer. Like,
Yeah,
definitely. Like it was key on my own recovery. So yeah.
So tell us a bit about that. Hello, Louise, by the way. Nice to see you here. So tell us how that affected you, the change, how it changed things for you when you came across Clipton strengths or started using that in this work.
Yeah, so I already knew what my strengths were because I was already trained on the tool. I just never thought to link it to my stress, and I don't know why. But for example, I have one strength called achiever, which means I have to be writing stuff on a list, ticking it off, adding more stuff, ticking it off. And what I found really quickly that this was causing me a lot of stress because not only I was getting energy from adding tasks and I was getting energy from ticking them off, but I was just using the strength in overdrive, like really over the top, you know. And what I like about this approach is that in the TMS world, we tend to say like, oh, I have TMS traits, like it's a bad thing. Whereas I find this helps you kind of dissect it down and say, well, actually, no, it's not a bad thing to have achiever. It's just you need to learn how to use it. So then I was able to kind of balance it with the other strengths that I have and use it in a really good way and give me energy. So that's one way. And then the other thing is I was able to find flow. So I was in agony and I realized that certain parts of the day I didn't have pain. And then when I traced back why, I was easily able to match it to my strengths. So I could say, like if I was learning something new, no pain whatsoever at all, zero. And so then I have the strength learner. So then I deliberately, very consciously, every single day watched a TED talk because I knew during that 20-minute TED talk, I would have no pain. And then gradually, I would build the day up around what I knew would put me into flow. And then I could kind of consciously take out parts of the day that were really draining. Like, for example, there's one strength called relator, which means that I really like being with a small group of people, like 2, 3 maximum. I get a lot of energy. Yeah. I remember. So I get a lot of energy from going deep in conversation with a small amount of people. And in the expat world, I was doing a lot of coffee things. I would go for coffee and there would be 10 people, 15 people, and I would come away after just an hour completely drained, like my pocket was empty. But then when I realized, well, it's because I'm forcing myself into a situation which is just not aligned with my strengths. So then I would deliberately meet with smaller groups, or at the minimum, I would sit on the end of the table. So I only have to talk to 2 people.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that is really interesting, and I think it does fit so well with this, doesn't it? Because you can really see when you are using your strengths, and then when you're not, the impact it can have on us. And I know you say we shouldn't be looking at the opposite side of it when we're not, the behaviours and things we have when we're not using our strengths. But I have to say I found that really interesting as well, and also helpful to recognise that in others as well as myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always usually find with a client, I'll be chatting about their strengths and I'll use an example of kind of like the polar opposite of them, because there's somebody in their life that will be that opposite, and that is usually a trigger for stress. And more often than not, it's the person they live with.
Yes.
They're like, oh, my husband's got this. But like just that realization that their husband's not being difficult on purpose. Their husband has a different set of strengths, and that's why you liked him in the first place. It's just now that's grinding on you. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, so we fall in love because they're different, and then they start annoying us because they're different. But no, I think that's important because it does help us realize that we're not all the same, And then if you understand your partner's strengths, you can begin to understand that a bit better, and maybe improve the relationship when you begin to really see that you are different, you have different strengths in the way you, and it's that, and I like that, oh gosh, what is it, the relationship, you know, the ways of expressing love.
The 5 love languages.
5 love languages, that's it. And I'm intrigued by that as well. And I just think, you know, quite often people are struggling because their partner doesn't have the same love language, for example. And if that person, like my husband, one of his is to do things for me. And he really does. He's wonderful. He'll get the car out for me in the morning. He'll bring me a cup of coffee every morning. That's one of his ways it's a really strong way for him to show love. And then I think they do have they look at how that compares with relationships as well, doesn't it? But if you are not somebody who does that or doesn't receive that well, then you can see why that could cause problems, can't you?
Yeah, totally. And the other thing I noticed specifically with TMS clients I work with is that they are trying so hard to be someone they are not. And so when they get the results, there's a lot of mixed emotions about their results. And some of them will look at it and be like, so disappointed that I wanted to be more of a doer. I wanted to be creative. I wanted to be stronger at conflict. So there's a huge disconnect between who they are and who they wish they could be. So often just that, helping them to see how great their own strengths is, gives you the feeling of being like comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And if they're not feeling comfortable in their own skin, they're not feeling good enough. And at the root of a lot of these mind-body conditions, if not all, is that I'm not enough in some way. Whatever way that is, not good enough, clever enough, slim enough, pretty enough, or whatever. And that's really, I believe, the root of all this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting when they see they have a strength and they're like, I just don't see this in me at all. This is not me. I just don't see it. But you don't see it because it's you. You know, you were born with these great strengths and you become blind to them. It's like your operating system. Of course you don't see them. And so it's helping them to kind of get their own personality out on the table and go, this isn't just a pile of TMS personality trait mess. This is like my greatest toolkit. This is, you know, you're not going to have a personality transplant, so let's just do what we've got, you know?
Yes, quite. Work with it and make the most of it, yes. Okay, well, we've got Judy, who's also saying hello. She lives in Sheffield and she's working with Lorna Nicholson, who's one of our SIRPA trained practitioners. So it sounds like you're working with her in the ME non-COVID program that they're doing. So she wants us to discuss fatigue. So I don't know if there's anything in particular you want to discuss around that, Judy, but I mean, basically fatigue, like pain, is one of our primal protective mechanisms. So, for example, if we just keep pushing ourselves and we ignore the fact that we're tired, we are going to end up crashing anyway. If we're hungry and we ignore the fact, you know, we ignore these hunger pangs, they'll get more and more, they'll get bigger and bigger. Because actually it's a primal need that we have nutrients, that we have food to give us energy to keep us going. And if we ignore the hunger pangs and we don't actually eat, then potentially to the primal brain, that's very dangerous. Same with thirst and needing to drink. And fatigue is a similar thing. And fatigue, just like, and pain obviously is one as well, it's a real protective response. And what we tend to do is we ignore the whispers. So we ignore the whispers in our body, the little aches and pains, or a twitch or something that we might not even be aware of, but then we end up a little bit more of the odd spasm or something, and then in the end we really struggle. The same with fatigue. If we ignore it and ignore the signs, then it often will build up. But certainly fatigue for me was one of a symptom that I definitely used to have, and occasionally will have now. You know, I'll be going through the day and be feeling absolutely fine, and then suddenly I'm just so tired, you know, really. And then I look at what I'm doing or what I'm expected to do, and I realise it's that fatigue is protecting me from having to do something that I just don't want to do. And that's often something that's worth considering. What is the symptom stopping you from having to do? And there's no doubt about it. For me, when fatigue suddenly comes along and I just feel really tired, in the past, I just thought, I'm obviously tired, must have not slept well, even if I thought I slept well, and I will go and have a lie down. These days, I won't necessarily have a lie down, because actually, if it's just come on, there's a reason for that. And then I will go in and do some emotional awareness or do some journaling about something, have a break, come back, look at, okay, how can I make this easier? What can I do to make it easier moving forward, basically? And fatigue really is just like pain. It's a manifestation of unresolved emotions. Anything you want to say about that, Gemma?
Yeah, but I can't resist linking it to strengths again. Is that okay?
You're all right. You can link it to strengths.
I just get so excited. So I worked with a client with burnout. So it's kind of, would that be similar to fatigue? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so they talk. One of the symptoms of burnout is fatigue. Yes.
Yeah. So what we figured out kind of quickly was that on days she was doing things that were not aligned with her strengths, she was more burnt out than on days she was doing stuff that was exactly who she was. But the other flip side of this is that we tend to default to our natural personality. And when we're stressed, we go into overdrive on whichever thing it is, whichever strength it is that we're using. And that was the flip side for her. So it was helping her to see, like, this is who you are, but then doing the dimmer switch of, like, let's dial this one up and let's dial this one down. And then she got the balance. And actually, she's since moved jobs to a job that she knows gives her energy from all her strengths. And the burnout's, I was going to say the burnout's burnt out, but you know what I mean? The burnout's gone out, finished.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I agree with everything you say. And then the other thing that helps me a lot is yoga nidra. I have just discovered this in the last year, and it is my go-to. Whenever I get to the point of massive tiredness, I would, instead of lying down like I used to, I'll put 10 minutes of YouTube yoga nidra on, and I'll deliberately not fall to sleep to it. And I feel like a new person afterwards. It's incredible.
Yeah. And actually that for me is something, not necessarily yoga nidra, but I will do a meditation, and then that helps me then moving forward. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so hello Debbie, and anybody else who's got any questions, please do post them. So Debbie asks, can my personality prove to be a barrier to healing, even if I've lost my fear of the pain and emotional work is an ongoing project? Okay, well, I would suggest not necessarily, what is it, a barrier? I suppose it is in a way, but it doesn't have to be, because your personality, yes, for example, I still have, good, you're welcome, Judy. I still have what they call a strong TMS personality. Okay, I'm a people pleaser. I'm an overly conscientious, perfectionist, etc. But I'm aware of that now. And once you're aware of it, then you can do something about it. And I'm sure this again is where strengths can come in as well. But for me now, if you say you're doing your emotional work is an ongoing project, that's great, because, and it is, I reckon, for all of us, this is a journey. This is a personal development journey. And the more I've become emotionally aware, the more I notice when I'm beginning to put pressure on myself. So yes, occasionally still I'll get fatigue, but more often than not, I will recognize the signs that I am there's some resistance, and that's sort of an emotional resistance. And if I step back then and explore what's going on, maybe do emotional awareness, maybe just take a break, do some breathing, depends what it is as to whether I journal or whatever, come back and then look at, okay, moving forward, what can I do? So let me give an example. So I'm a perfectionist, overly conscientious, and I remember I used to go into overwhelm because I didn't have the brakes on. I didn't know when to stop. And I remember a good few years, many years ago, I didn't have pain, but I decided I'm going to work on overwhelm as a symptom. And so what I did was I started exploring when I was going into overwhelm. And this was before I was learning more about the emotional awareness side of it. but I was very aware of my personality at that point. And I would realize that I go into overwhelm when I'm ignoring the cues that my body's telling me that, I'm struggling with something's a bit challenging, or I need a break. It might just literally be that, and I've just got to finish this blog, or I've just got to finish doing whatever. But I would persist. So, and then once we know, we have a choice. And so when I began to look at when do I go to overwhelm, it's when I'm ignoring my body's signals, when there are too many things going on, when I'm trying to multitask. So for example, if I'm doing something like now, I've actually unplugged my phone so that I'm not distracted if the phone goes. So I will make an effort to, actually the one thing I realized I didn't do, I shut the office door, but I normally make sure my cat is locked out of the kitchen. So there's 2 doors between us, otherwise she starts jumping at the door. Forgot to do that. But that, again, anything like that is going to help me just focus on one thing helps. Being aware and then learning to become much more emotionally aware means if we deal with that, then we can start looking at, okay, you're being a bit too perfectionistic, Georgie. Is it good enough? And I've become so much better at that. As people know, if they get my newsletter, because on occasion one goes out maybe with a link that's not working or something, but I might have been rushing, trying to put it together. I'm less hard on myself now than I used to be. So there's lots of different factors there, but I think, Debbie, it's not a barrier, but it's something to work on. And I know Gemma's got thoughts on this.
I'm writing stuff as I
know.
But really good question, actually. I would say there are 34 strengths, and I think any one of those strengths could be a barrier to your healing if you let it. Like, kind of similar to what George is saying, it's awareness. So, for example, if you have, let's say, the analytical strength, then there is a very high possibility that the research part of TMS will go on and on and on, because there will always be another question that you can ask about the validity of TMS. Yeah. If you have, let's say, the strength of communication, there will always be someone that you can keep talking to about it before you actually start doing it. And I could go through the full 34 and say why I think each one could hold you back. Mm-hmm. But it's awareness, like Georgie was saying. So once you're like, oh, I have analytical, that means I ask brilliant questions all the time. But then you can be like, okay, so I'm going to use analytical for maybe 3 days on this, and then I'm going to jump in and I'm going to accept that I've got enough information. If that makes sense. So that's one side of it. And then the other thing I would say on personality, let's say you're a people pleaser because you've figured it out from the books that you've got people pleaser. But what knowing your strengths can do is mine down further. So why are you a people pleaser? Like, yes, it could be stuff from the past, it could be from your childhood, most likely it is. But you also could just look on the surface level of your strengths and think, well, am I or let's say perfectionist because I have the strength responsibility and I don't want to let the other person down? Mm-hmm. Or is it that you've got the strength, let's say, competition, and you want to be the best? Or do you see what I mean? So it's depending on what strength you have determines why you are a people pleaser. And if you can figure that out, then it's easier to kind of put it to the side and be like, okay, the other person's happy enough right now, if that's the one that you've got. Yeah,
great. Yeah, and again, it is about awareness. And then, as Louise says, we were talking about it being a choice. Having that choice to not just automatically react, but to have that space, that pause to actually choose how we're going to respond. And yes, I could go into that overly perfectionist, desperately getting everything right. And I don't do that anymore, because when I realize that, okay, that's enough, then I will actually, in fact, I did that with a recording I was doing a good few months ago now. And everything was going wrong. One, I'd forgotten to turn the phone off. I think one of the cats had come in. I'd forgotten to plug in the mic when I was doing it on another occasion because I was using an external mic, and it was going on and on. Or I fluffed it when I was recording it, whatever, it was going on, and I could feel myself just getting really frustrated. And so I decided to just do one more go, and I managed to do it, and it was fine. And then the perfectionist in me noticed a dot on my shirt when I listened to it back, and I was going, oh no. And then I knew that the perfectionist in me would make it do again. But I knew that I also, this was by then a couple of hours in, and I had 2 projects I was trying to do that day. And if I'd persisted with that, I wouldn't have got on with the other one. Plus, knew I was getting myself wound up because I'd have to do it all over again. So I decided to stop. And I actually felt, okay, do you know what? It's good enough. We'll leave it at that. And then I gave myself the choice, and I just said, do you know what? Let's look at it in the morning. If you feel you want to do it again, then that's fine. If not, then we'll leave it. And so I did just take a break then. I had a proper break, came back, got on with my other stuff. And in the morning, I looked at it, and it was a weekend, but I had the full weekend and I knew I had time. And I listened to it, and then I decided, you know what? Not just because of the dot, but I knew that I wanted to do it again. And when I did it, it was loads better than the one before because I was in a better frame of mind by then. But that was stopping myself before all that pressure had built up too much. Okay, so I could have stopped a little bit earlier. I chose to go on, and again, it's about choice. But I realised when it got to the point, no, now's the time to stop, because otherwise I'm going to put too much pressure on myself.
I'm thinking about the advert I put on Instagram for this chat with I put the wrong time, and Georgie was the only one that noticed. And she was like, do you know you've put the wrong time? I was like, I do actually know I've put the wrong time, but the old me would have like changed the post. I was like, I'll just change it on the day to the right time.
And do you know what? That happened with us because somebody else had put in a post and I'd forgotten to tell them that the time had changed. It was probably one with you where we did it in the morning instead of in the afternoon, and it was wrong. And all I did was went in the comments and just said, oh, apologies, it's not that time, it's 10 o'clock or whatever. And that's fine. And it's recorded, people can watch afterwards. And it's about just being kinder to ourselves and not letting ourselves get to that point where we're causing ourselves so much stress. So personality stress traits can cause a lot of stress, day-to-day stress. But it doesn't have to be a barrier when we begin to understand who we are and why we are who we are, and then we begin to work on that. So yes, I still cause myself self-induced stress, but I am so much better at recognizing it and reducing it these days.
I think also, Georgie, on this, for me, it really helped to have this toolkit, because I was able to say, I have these strengths. To my husband, I have these strengths, therefore you're going to find me really annoying for these reasons, but this is why I'm great. So I gave him, basically, I gave him my operating manuals. Like, this is how you
wife. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So, but this works really well. And same vice versa. I know what his strengths are. So, for example, when he's asking me endless questions about something, I notice he's analytical. Whereas that would have been a trigger where I'm now like, no, that's your greatest thing. So it's concrete.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. And it's relevant when my daughter did these as well, because she had empathy, winning others over, and all sorts of ones that made me understand why she wants to work in a civil rights firm. She's training to be a solicitor. Whereas my husband's saying, well, why don't you do corporate law? You'll earn more in that. And I can understand why he'd think about that. But when you look at my daughter, that's not who she is. She would just crash and burn. She would be so stressed in a corporate world because that doesn't give her meaning and purpose in her life. So I showed that to my husband and said, this is why she has to do what she's doing, because this is actually, these are her strengths and she can use these in her work. So, yeah, I think it's fascinating.
It's such a great feeling when you live every day in your strengths, because you literally feel stronger and you're not trying to be a square peg in a round hole. Like, if I think back to when I was in Dubai previously, I was working in HR, and every year I had to write the budget for I worked in a hotel. Every year I had to write a budget, and every single year I had absolute agony, back pain. And I look at it now and I'm like, well, no wonder, because analytical for me is like 33, 34. It's like as low as you possibly can get.
Yes.
And not only is it not a strength, it's a non-strength, which means like it would completely drain me. Yeah. And I would sit for a month looking at these spreadsheets, getting more and more in pain. And then the message I was saying to myself is, I need to go on another finance course. And because I have Learner, I'll keep going on all these finance courses. It's like, now I look at it, I'm like so stupid. Like, and as soon as I figured this out, I got somebody else did the budget and I presented it, no problem. But it was the doing it part with the numbers.
And that reminds me of when I started in this work and I was trying to do everything, trying to do the writing, developing courses, doing, before we even set up SIRPA, working with clients, doing a retrospective pilot study, doing loads of things. And it got to the point where I thought, you know what, I can't do all this. I need to focus on what I know I'm good at. And actually the pilot study and doing all that side of things, that's not me. It's not who I am. But as you know, I've got, developer and maximizer in my top strengths and relator, so working well with small groups. And the developer and the maximizer fits in with me working with clients and with training practitioners and helping develop them, helping them achieve their potential. And so I sort of naturally went into that. When I realized I have to choose here, just because I'm on my own in the UK doesn't mean I have to do everything. And of course now it's great because we've got more and more people involved and others can do the other things, and so many people are doing different things that are getting this work out there as well. So.
Yeah, this reminds me, because you have maximizer and developer, which are typically they're sort of the same because you're pushing people to develop, but from a stress point of view, because they're kind of opposite as well. Like developer, typically people with developer like to see, if it's a classroom of people, you want every student to improve just a fraction. And as a teacher, you would be so happy with that. If it's equal, if everyone has improved a little bit. But maximizer is like you'll find the high achiever and you'll zoom in on that high achiever. I'm going to make that high achiever a superstar. So, and you can see how these would normally maybe sit in two different people, but you've got both of them. So it's great because now you know it, right? So, but it may have caused, some kind of stress. It's not really uncommon to have these opposite strengths. You could have someone that's got massive thinking strength. I have activator, which means I don't think. I just go. I jump and then I think. But let's say I had analytical at the same time or deliberative, they're real thinking thieves. So as a person, it would be really confusing. I want to go, but no, I want to think. I want to go, but I want to think.
Oh gosh, yes, yeah.
So once you can separate it out like this, it's really
So maybe later on you could put the link to the Clipton Strengths questionnaire for people, and they can. I mean, I think it's only £20 to do the top 5, isn't it? And I only did my top 5, but it has been helpful in allowing me to see, what's going on, and to help me understand when I'm feeling stressed working with, in my work, as to what actually is causing that. And that's interesting in itself. Again, it's awareness, and when we're aware, we can do something about it. Laura said, a good idea for putting in a deadline for a certain strength, excuse me, before implementing.
Say that
again? Putting in a deadline for a certain strength. Okay, I'm going to analyze this for 3 days and then I'm going to do something else.
Isolate.
And that's like when they say, if you are a worrier, you ruminate an awful lot. That one of the tips is actually what could be helpful is to say, okay, for 10 minutes, I'm going to worry. I'm going to catastrophize and I'm going to just really, really allow myself to worry. But then at the end of the timer, I'm going to stop. And actually, for many people, that can be really helpful.
Yeah, and I would encourage anyone that's given themselves a label like worrier to reframe that label right from now. You don't have to do a test to know this. Like, a worrier is a really good thinker. So tell yourself, I'm a really, really good thinker. I like to think things through really well. This is one of my greatest strengths. I'm going to use it for 10 minutes. and then I'm going to write it down and put it away.
Yeah.
So it's the
and then use the thinking in another way, in a more positive way, and it's health enhancing way.
Yeah.
Has anybody else got any questions? Anything they want to ask? So, what else do you think would be helpful to mention in some of the things that you've seen in your clients that you think would benefit people working who are coming with mind-body symptoms?
Doubt.
Definitely.
Because I know the reason I healed my pain was because I had no doubt at all. Yeah. I had absolutely no doubt. And actually, I decided a week, I think it was about 1 week before I found out about TMS, I had already decided I am fixing my back pain. Mm-hmm. But at that point, I was on the wrong track. Something switched in my head. I started a diary, and it was day 1 of fixing my back pain. But I'd gone down the physio route of I'm going to do as many of those lie on the floor and lift your arms and legs as you can. But I remember feeling a shift of like, I am not going to live with this anymore. And then I did a few days of that. And I think because I was in that mindset, then it just kind of, actually I was on a coaching call and I was the client and class was listening, and I said, I just want someone to cut my back off because I'm in so much pain. And then somebody suggested the John Sarno book. And because I was ready for it, I had made that decision, I will do anything. I read the book and I told people around me, don't talk about my pain anymore. Mm-hmm. This isn't anymore. And I just, I never, ever, ever, ever for 1 second doubted that I didn't have TMS, even though I was in agony.
Right, yeah, and I think that is so critically important. And as Susie says, Dan Ratner's Crushing Doubt, he that's one of the main things he focuses on, including self-empowerment. And I think both, whether if you have doubts or you're not feeling empowered, they are going to fuel symptoms. They are going to trigger symptoms. So it's really important to actually really work on those doubts and actually to make a decision as to how you're going to move forward, but also look at the doubts and then look at how you can actually overcome them. So I know Dan is really keen on, it's one of his main 3 pillars that he talks about.
Yeah, I'd also say to limit the amount of time we spend on these Facebook groups, you know, like get the information you need and then get off them, because you don't want to be reminded all the time that about you want to be I think this is it. Get on with your life. Just get on with your life. That was something I did. Get on with your life. And I got busy using my strengths because I knew I'd go into flow, and I just got on with my life despite the pain. You know, I had this kind of attitude, and I've had clients that say the last thing they do at night before they go to sleep is just quickly check the TMS boards. Like, and I get it, but that's just going to fuel, you know. And other little things I've said to people is like, if you are taking medication, fine, but don't have it on the counter where you can see it all the time. Make it really difficult. Like put it in a jar in the back of a cupboard. So your brain is not looking at it all the time. Every time you look at a TMS book, Facebook page or tablet,
it's like going like this, isn't it? Like reinforcing those neural pathways.
So I would hide everything to do with TMS and just get on with life.
As best you can, because many people can't do everything they want to do, but it's actually about looking at what they can do.
Absolutely.
And I think the other thing you mentioned about last thing at night, and I think having a routine first thing in the morning and last thing at night can be really helpful as well. And the first thing in the morning is about starting your day off well. And if you're immediately focusing on the symptoms and I won't be able to do this and will I be able to do that, or in their head worrying, then that's setting the day off in a not very good way. It's like saying, oh, I got out of bed the wrong side this morning. And then funnily enough, everything goes wrong the rest of the day. Whereas actually when that happens, stand up straight, shoulders back and go, okay, these things happen. Let's move on from that now. And then focusing on something, and even if it is about, if people don't want to meditate, journal first thing in the morning, even waking in the morning and rather than being in the head worrying, listening to a really interesting podcast, and not always about this work. A TED talk, something really different, something that lights your fire, like you said, and it's not necessarily just for people who are learners, but actually people who enjoy, have a passion, and they might want to learn about that. So that even if they can't do it, actually listening to things and listening to podcasts might be helpful.
The other thing I've noticed about sleep on this subject is the amount of people that have animals and children waking them up in the night. And when I ask, why do you let the cat in the bedroom? There's lots and lots of reasons why they let the cat in the bedroom, but ultimately they're not sleeping. Yeah. So I'm not a cat expert, but I do know that if you don't sleep, it's likely that the pain's not going to go anywhere. So this is something that helped me was to wake up an hour before the kids, at least an hour every day.
Yes, I do before that.
Because you're right, you need I need anyway, to get in the right frame of mind. Yeah. And if I'm woken up by children, I want breakfast. This is not going to put me in the right frame of mind. So
no. And then it's just looking at making sure you're in bed for enough time. So if you're getting up early, going to bed a bit earlier. But also just not to be, scrolling through your phone last thing at night and having it next to your bed so that you can too easily look at it. How many people do you hear of who wake up in the morning and the first thing they do is grab their phone? And it's so addictive. And in fact, there were comments, weren't there, when Facebook went down with Instagram and WhatsApp a couple of days ago. There were comments that people were saying, gosh, it was so freeing. I think I might just sort of log out of all my accounts. Because it is very addictive, and you can sit there for 5 minutes now, just for 5 minutes, have a look through, and 20 minutes later you're still there. And last thing at night, that's the last thing you want to do, because if there's something that pops up there that's then going to trigger you, then you're probably not going to sleep very well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree.
Yeah.
This week, a few days before Facebook went down, I deleted or archived every single Instagram post I've done over the last 5 years, and I've left just six tiles, which basically says this is who I am and this is what I do. Here's testimonials, because I don't want to be contributing to the scrolling. I don't want people to be scrolling my posts. I want them to be asleep. And I understand marketing and everything; it's important, but for me, it just...
I know, you've said that before, haven't you? You don't believe in this social media addiction.
I can see there's value in groups, like go and ask your questions, support each other. Like, this is really useful, but just aimlessly scrolling. And if I do this twice with my finger, I'm just like, no, I can't do this. I know where this is going.
Yeah, absolutely. There are better things to do in our lives.
Yeah, I've got just one tile now that will rotate if or when I have something interesting to say. Otherwise, and it's not attractive and interesting. It's just words. That's it.
Yeah. So Susie's challenging you. She's saying, "What about coming on SIRPA's forum?"
Yeah, that's a good example of go and ask the question, and when you've got the answer, leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what we're saying, Susie, that actually is when people become. You see them in these groups, the same people over and over and over, liking things, commenting on things, asking questions for months on end. That's what we're talking about, really, aren't we? With people, constantly going from one group to another, or in one group and in there a lot, rather than actually trying to get on with their life or find the information they want to do and then get on. And I agree with that. And I've seen that so much in forums where the same people, and we're not any better. And you seem to be constantly in the groups, and and that's actually not beneficial. And Debbie said, and let's have a read of this. Is it a question sometimes of what you're feeling underneath? And that's all I've read so far anyway, Debbie, and I'm not quite sure what we're relating it to now. We talk so much. But is it a question sometimes of what you're feeling underneath? Are you actually feeling fear rather than anger, for example? Absolutely. Finding repressed emotions has proved difficult for me. Is it more a question of ascertaining what you are really feeling? Okay, interesting. And I like that, finding repressed emotions. That's a very active thing, isn't it? It's like looking for them, whereas actually we're more about actually allowing these emotions to come up. And that if you are feeling angry, then actually by acknowledging the anger, maybe journaling about the anger, then that allows often the underlying emotion to surface as well. So this is why emotional awareness, somatic tracking is a very passive thing. It's about observation, being curious, being interested, and allowing emotions to surface, be processed and move on. Yes, it's about ascertaining what you really feel, or is it sometimes labeling your emotions can be helpful. That's been shown to be helpful. If you're feeling a certain emotion, for saying, you know, I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling angry, that has been shown to help. But if you're actually doing a practice like emotional awareness, then that's a somatic practice, and somatic tracking is a somatic practice. So if you're in your head and you're thinking about, oh, I'm feeling tense here, but is it sadness? Is it fear? Is it whatever? Then you're in your head thinking about it, which actually is going to cause resistance to that emotion being able to just start surfacing. And so if you actually just rest your attention on it, and be calm and relaxed and nice calm breathing, then more often than not, you're able to just allow that to be there, and there's safety then for it to surface like a wave, come up, hang around and go away again. And the more you learn to do that, rather than reacting to this emotion that's coming up, and then some people just go into the head worrying about it, because remember, if we're feeling often what happens is that we react to the feelings rather than the emotions. So an emotion might surface, but then we might have a pounding heart and tension in the chest. That's often what we react to. That's what's scary. Whereas if we can learn to sit with it and observe the emotion coming up and allow it to come up, rather than being in a head thinking about it, worrying about it, or just going, oh, no, can't do this, even if you're not saying no, but actually just, you know, this isn't working, then that will keep things repressed as well. And there are a few YouTube videos on my channel with pendulation, for example, that helps you deal with uncomfortable emotions that come up. So you start building your capacity to deal with these emotions. And that includes, for example, if you are doing an emotional awareness exercise and there's huge amount of fear, it starts to surface and your body reacts. And if that becomes scary for you, then actually just open your eyes and actually, you know, moving your hands and feet, naming 3 things you see, 2 things you feel, 1 thing you hear, that grounds yourself in the moment. And then you can then close your eyes, go back into it. But the aim is to allow yourself to be there and just be curious and notice what sensations there are, because actually emotions just surface, they hang around a bit and then they go as the neurochemicals of emotion begin to be processed and used up in the body, and then they go. Have you got anything to say about that, Gemma?
Yeah, I think that for me, I was able to do a lot of this stuff with journaling. And I would say I got the surface level stuff out through journaling. But I think for me personally, I needed a coach to help me. I know we say like you shouldn't be going to find and you shouldn't look. No. But one of the I needed the help from somebody that's not me, because I'm a big thinker, and I needed someone to help me to stop thinking so I could relax. They did the talking and all I had to do was follow their instructions. And then emotions, they did come up. I was amazed how they came up. And I feel like I've kind of been trained now, so they come up more naturally on their own. But at the time of when I had all this pain, I do think I think it got to a point where I needed help, definitely. And now when I work with clients, there's process I do, which is body wisdom. So somebody will say like, oh, I think it's same as somatic tracking. They'll say like, oh, my shoulder hurts. So then we'll go through kind of a visualization of what does it feel like, what temperature is it, how hot is it, but this is like a closed eye thing. So you're able just to completely relax. You don't have to do anything at all other than describe this feeling. And as you're doing that, the emotions come up just magically, automatically. And you're like, where did that come from? But it's out. Once it's out, and it's gone. And I'm amazed always how much messages you can get from, it sounds very woo-woo, but I'm always amazed how much the body knows. But I do think with some people, definitely me, I needed help, for sure.
I agree. And and so often the body will be saying no, you know, the symptoms or sensations or thoughts were, certainly for me, one of mine was actually saying, I can't do this. Yeah, I can't do this. And certainly in more deeper work, somatic sort of work, that was something that was creating a barrier at one point. And that was really interesting because consciously I was really keen to do this and go to a deeper level. And then unconsciously my body's telling me otherwise. And the little voice saying, oh, you can't do this, meant that there was that barrier to overcome first. And in internal family systems, they would call that a part that's protecting you from going deeper into what actually is being perceived to be a really, really threatening to allow these vulnerable emotions to surface. And that's where working with an experienced practitioner can be helpful, especially somebody who works with somatic work, can be helpful in supporting people in allowing these emotions to surface.
And so, sorry.
No, go on.
No, I was just going to say, if you are doing it alone, like with the journaling, it's always really basic language that you don't need to overthink it. So, for example, when we recently moved like 1 month ago to Dubai, and I had massive TMS flare up for 1 hour. I had a massive migraine. It was like my head was just collapsing. And my husband's there. I'm like, don't worry, it's TMS. And he knows and I know, and I'm like, just give me time. But then I always do a spider diagram now instead of journaling, and I'm writing all the things it could possibly be why I'm feeling like this. But ultimately, it's how a child would speak. I hate Dubai. I want to go back to Sri Lanka.
Yes.
I don't mean this, and I'm happy, but like that's really in that moment, that is exactly what I was thinking. I hate Dubai. I want to go back home, even though Sri Lanka's not even home.
But it was for a while. But yeah, absolutely, and just allowing those thoughts and emotions to come up. And it is about the vulnerable part. It often is that how we would feel as a child, and yet we're feeling adult. Well, no, of course we're moving to Dubai because work's moved to Dubai, we've got to be here, and the family we're okay. But actually, deep down, maybe you're not. Yes, and there's that conflict, and it's about acknowledging that. Definitely. Yeah, well done. So, Susie, I'm glad you rewrote that. I was wondering what you were meaning. If you are a TMS practitioner, how can you avoid being obsessed with TMS? That's interesting. I am passionate about TMS. I'm really interested in this field, but I don't believe I'm obsessed with it, because I'm living my life. And I think where my passion comes from this is actually like, looking at the house of health and how can I nurture myself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, so that we're looking more at how can we improve our lives, how can we nurture ourselves, have fun, connect with people, rather than focusing on the symptoms themselves. And I think that's the difference. It's when, and of course, when you've got symptoms, it is tougher. I've been there, you've been there, Gemma. But if our life is focused on the symptoms and trying to look for, going into the groups all the time, we get stuck, because I keep seeing it in groups, and I don't often go in them these days. But when I have, I'm often seeing people giving all sorts of different suggestions as well. And that must be muddling for people who are following this approach, to have somebody who suddenly says, well, I don't think you've had enough tests, you should go and do this test. Or I think it can get very confusing to be, and also just to be immersed in trying to get better is where problems can occur.
Great question. I think for me, I'm a bit like you, Georgie. I just love this stuff. I find it so interesting, and it seems like everyone I meet, I'm trying to be meeting new friends, and we're just chatting. What do you do? Oh, I do this. And before long, they're telling me all these symptoms they've got. And then it's really funny. And I'm like, I want to be a friend. I don't, and they're telling me all these symptoms. And then I get so excited that, like, this is so good. This is so good. You've got all these different symptoms. It's probably TMS. And then here's a book you can read, So when it comes to other people, I think I'm excited rather than obsessed. But then with my own life, I think I very much play to my strengths and just get on with life. And I think my life now is so much better because of TMS, so much better. Like I wake up every day and do 10 minutes of yoga, but not because TMS tells me to. I genuinely love doing 10 minutes of yoga.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just I hope that answers the question, but
I don't know if it does, because she's saying if you're surrounded by TMS every day, aren't you still in it all the time? In a different way, because we're not in the pain, or I don't even know how to describe it. It's work, but it's something that we live as well. But my focus is more on, I've got into cold water immersion, swimming, that I love. My Commander Fit boot camp, I don't do it because I feel I should do. I love it because it's groups of people. I'm getting out, I'm connecting with people, I'm being in nature. Those are the things that I love. So walking, being in nature, doing the cold water immersion is just something that for me, I'm really enjoying. And that gives a balance, and it's about having a balance. So yes, my work is TMS, but it doesn't mean that I'm personally involved in it, even though, whenever there's sensations that come up, yes, okay, I'm aware, but it's an awareness, and it's part of life now. Whereas in the past, it was, I'd just have symptoms, maybe headaches, migraines if I pushed myself. Whereas now it's just that awareness. Oh, okay, just take a break. And that's not being immersed, that's not being obsessed with TMS. It's actually being interested in actually making sure that I am looking after myself.
Yeah, and also I was just thinking about this question. I think it depends what type of TMS practitioner you are, because for me, I lead with strengths. We start with strengths. We don't talk about pain at all. And we never have pain. Pain is not the goal of why they come to me at all. It is, that's why people come. But very, very rarely do we go back and check in on the pain, because the whole point is to get back on with life. And if there is real pain and we're doing the body work, I sort of, for some reason I'm separated. I guess it's like creating the shield for yourself, isn't it? Somehow. And again, it's curiosity. I'm just like super curious of what answers will come up, and
Yes, and I agree, because I feel this is very much a personal development journey, and we don't often talk about pain when I'm working with clients. Yes, we'll do the somatic work, and they'll say what sensations are occurring, and in fact, I get my clients not to talk about the pain, that they change the name of it. So, for example, our mind body group last year, they came up with the word Scoobies, so that rather than talking about my back pain, my leg pain, whatever, they said, the Scoobies that were around today. Or another lady called her tinnitus Tinkerbell, because the fear around tin and tinnitus was huge. And that, again, takes that attention away and that fear away from the symptoms. So Susie says, could you do anything else away from the TMS world and feel fulfilled? I reckon I could, because I've got learner and maximizer. If there was something that caused me passion, then yes, absolutely. Yeah. Don't know what it would be, because it depends on what, for example, actually, I used to be a respiratory physiotherapist. I was passionate about that. And I can see now my my developer and maximizer strengths have come in throughout my whole career. I was passionate. Everything I work on, I have a passion for, and I shot up through the ranks in my physio, more traditional work, because I was so passionate and wanted to continue and get into it all. And actually that changed when I had my kids, and then when I had my kids, they were my life. And then I started and I was bored when I went back into the NHS because there wasn't anything that I could really develop. Well, except go back into the field of management, and I was working with the elderly more than anything, and that just didn't light my fire. Hence, when I became interested in pain, even before I came across this work, then I left and I set up my pain relief centre because I wanted to make a difference. And for me, it's always been about making a difference. Interesting question, Susie. Thank you.
And I think if that question's being asked, maybe the question is for Susie, like, what part, like, there's something deeper there, right? Like, you need to ask yourself the question. Yeah. If this is a problem, maybe it's because it's not exactly the right niche for you. Like for me, I realized very early on, I'm not the sort of coach that wants to work with the same client for a year. I have Activator. I want to kickstart people.
Yes.
I want to get them going, and I want to give them the tools to go on and do their own journey. Yeah. But there are some coaches that are so perfect for doing the long haul, and they enjoy the gradual, But absolutely. And when you admit who you actually are most attracted to as a client and zoom in on that, it's a lot more fulfilling.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to have to finish there. We're on 5 o'clock. Or what time is it in Dubai?
It is 8:01.
8:01. Yeah. Okay. So we will finish there. I'm sure Gemma will put the Clipton Strengths link in, won't you? So you can see that. We can put an emotional awareness link in there as well if anybody wants that. And other than that, we had better call it a day and leave it at that. But thank you for your questions, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the day.
See you.
Bye. Bye-bye.